Hello everyone. Today, I'll be sharing my participant observation experience, which took place in Lobota, a Korean BBQ restaurant located near Kyoto University. And this was my first time working outside of Korea, and I had the special opportunity to interact with both Japanese and Korean students, but not from all of them in Tosha, but from different universities. And I'll also be sharing some personal photos that I took during this experience, and some of them might be a little off topic for specific slides, but I found them meaningful and necessary to show the full picture of my time in Lobota, and I also just wanted to share as many pictures as possible. So for the project overview, where, what, when, and why, I didn't specifically choose, but I did get into the typical evening shift at Lobota because that's where all the hard things happen, because it's the peak time. So that's where I worked alongside with others during the peak dinner hours, and it's usually from Friday to Sunday, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I was interested in how students from Korea and Japan work together. Will there be any differences, any significant difficulties during the time together, and what cultural norms emerge in the workplace, and how I personally experienced this cross cultural space. So I'll go on with, does it meet the criteria? So yes, I had it. The project met all the criteria, and for the participant observation, and yes, I had the formal permission because I was employed by Loda, and yes, it was unfamiliar because it was my first job that I had outside of South Korea, and of course the shift had a clear beginning and an end. If it's the busy days, you probably have to go there at least at 5 p.m. and it will end around 10 to 11 p.m. And it was limited in time and also legal. And I was just actually really curious about the culture aspects of working together. Like I mentioned in the last slide, will there be any difficulties? Will it be the same as working with just Koreans, or would it be really different? And my key informant was a Japanese Korean Chinese co-worker. He's actually the owner of this place. He's the Sacho, and he was really nice to me, and he guided me all through. So he explained many aspects of working life at Lobota. So what happened? I will go through the experience in detail, the sensory details. So the restaurant was actually very noisy. It was full of sounds. It was full of dishes clashing together, uh, orders being called in usually in Japanese, but also in Korean because there are Korean students that live near here or go to Kyoto University. And meat sizzlings and the loud noises of coordinated teamworks. And I remember that the strong smell of grilled meat, sesame oil, or kimchi, garlicky smell was all over my staff clothes for like the whole day. And also during our staff meal, we shared food we cooked for ourselves. Everything was very hands-on, from like carrying heavy trays to scrubbing grills, doing the dishes. And some of the photos I'll show during the section might include everyday moments like us cleaning and of what it looks like after the whole job was done. But I think they're essential in understanding this whole vibe and environment. And these are actually the photos that I took, which is the most famous dish in Lota. This is samgyeopsal, and the next is moksar. And these two are the best-selling products or foods in Lobutta. So personal feelings and group dynamics. I will talk about this. And so at first I kind of felt out of place. I was super aware of my uh, little mistakes and especially my language barrier because my Japanese isn't that good. But over time, because there are limited Japanese words that we actually use in this restaurant, like certain menu items, certain phrases, certain terms. So as time went by, I felt more comfortable when I got used to it, and I also noticed the cultural dynamics. So the Japanese colleagues were very formal, very they kept a more hierarchical tone, while the Korean colleagues were actually a bit more informal and more directive, like calling hyung, which is like you call someone who's older than you, and that's not a really formal way to call someone who's older than you. So it was actually surprising to me to find out that Koreans were more informal because of I thought they were going to be more formal because we all got discharged and had the experience in the army, but I found out during this observation that I was completely wrong about that. And my presence possibly made people shift to English or simplify Japanese more, which also influenced the workplace energy, I think. It uplifted the tone to a more brighter tone, I think, by using English. And one thing that made me feel especially at ease and comfortable was working with some friends from Doshisha ILA, as you can see in the two photos. I have their consent of using their photos that I took. The friend on the left is Changwan J, also known as J. He just returned to the ILA after his hard time service at the military. And on the right friend, his face got a little bit cut, but that is Do Kyung, DK, also known as. He's a freshman at this year in the ILA. So having familiar faces around made the environment more relaxed and way more enjoyable. So some insights from the participant observation is that actually doing the job let me feel things I could never have noticed by just watching, like the stress during rush hours or the laughs we shared during the cleaning ups. My key informant, the Sacho, helped explain unwritten rules. Uh, like who does which task and why, and these human emotional parts would be missing in a questionnaire or just watching from outside because you have to be there to feel those. So I also noticed that almost everyone disliked the cleaning tasks and staying late to close the restaurant when opening the restaurant is much more easier. But some Korean workers, like I mentioned at last slide, they were more informal and more of a like a friend kind of thing was pretty very hard. But some Korean workers who had the military experience just did this cleaning thing and staying late to close the restaurant thing without complaint because they just accepted the fate that if someone has to do it, then it should be someone who's good at this. So that's how we all can just go home. But the Japanese colleagues were actually the opposite. They were more like, if I don't have to do it, then there's no chance that I'm doing this and staying till late. So I won't say they're selfish or greedy, but that was just the difference. And the limitation and other methods, of course, participant observation has limits. Interviews or surveys could go deeper into how people feel about identity or cultural differences and frictions, but studying workplace documents might show formal expectations. But in Lobota, there weren't any staff rules or manuals that were written in documents. They were just recipes. But nothing replaces, like I mentioned, being there and feeling and sensing how a team works under pressure and under different cultural, uh, who has different cultural background. So what I took away from Lobota. In the end, the experience taught me that working across cultures is more than just using shared language. It's about navigating expectation, adapting to others, and staying open-minded. And food, interestingly, was a great unifier. So I now notice my own habits and more, and appreciate the challenges other faces too. And just a fun takeaway, I actually learned how to cook better through this job, and now I can prepare several dishes quite confidently because our Sacho and us valued eating well together before the real work begins. So that was the common thing that Korean and Japanese colleagues had, and these are actually the dishes that I made. And yeah, thank you for listening. This is also the dishes that I made, but thank you for listening.